and dreamed about you, and now you are here. No dream can do justice to you. And these are the words of Fergal Keane, the BBC correspondent, writing a letter to his newborn son, Daniel Patrick, in 1996. And they're powerful words, and they capture that longing, that dreaming, that imagining that parents must have as they await the birth of their child. And then there's the arrival of the child. And the reality is so much more than the dream or the imagination could ever create. It is to marvel at this newborn baby. It's to look with wonder and awe at this beautiful creation, this beautiful human being. And it reveals a welcome that comes from an explosion of love. And it's an uncontainable love. It's a love that can't be described. And it's a love that can't stop looking at this newborn baby, can't stop holding the baby, touching the baby. We had wanted you and waited for you. To be wanted and waited for, and then to receive an explosion of love. It's the most wonderful welcome at the entry into the world for those babies who are blessed to enter into such an expression of love, wonder and awe. And another place where you can witness explosions of love is at airports, and usually at Christmas. Christmas is a wonderful time for people to come home and to be met at the airport by their parents. Parents who have waited and dreamed about a time when the whole family would be together again. In some ways, at the airport, and if you see it on television or whatever, the parents can react as if they're seeing their baby for the first time. Even if the child is now an adult, grown up, their parents can't stop looking at them, maybe stroking their face, holding them, touching them. It's a welcome home, and it's wonderful. And the opposite is awful, and it happens too. It's the times when we're not welcome, and the places we go don't want us. It's that feeling that nobody cares and nobody notices. And Father Peter McVeary, the Jesuit priest who has worked with those who are homeless and those with addictions all his life, consistently says that the primary thing that a person who is homeless needs is not a house. That's not what they're looking for first. It is to have someone to care for them, someone to notice them, someone to love them, someone to want them. How often we avoid making eye contact with the person who is homeless or maybe inebriated with alcohol and sitting in the street. We don't want to look at them. We don't want to engage with them. We certainly don't want to hold them or touch them. There's no explosion of love here. It's an explosion, perhaps of fear, but certainly of some level of rejection. There's no meeting in this case. There's avoidance. And God never avoids people. He always meets them or desires to meet them. And Jesus even waited in the Garden of Gethsemane to meet those who would kill him. He didn't avoid them. He waited and he met them. And one of the greatest moments of meeting, an explosion of love, is the story that Jesus told about the prodigal son. And this is a wonderful story that reveals the desire and the love of God. It's a story that reveals the cost of love and also that explosion of love. And the cost of love was the Father watching his Son leave, knowing that what his Son was doing was wrong and it wasn't going to lead to life, knowing that he wouldn't see his Son for a long, long time, knowing that his heart was breaking with pain and with sadness. And this broken-hearted Father waited and waited and waited for his Son to come home. He stood outside and watched every day, looking out into the distance for his return. And like Fergal Keane, I have no doubt that the Father wanted his Son, waited for his Son, imagined his Son coming home and dreamed about that meeting. Unlike Fergal Keane, this Father didn't know it would probably happen in 9 months. This Father waited and waited, not knowing when or if his Son would come home. And then he saw him. He saw him coming in the distance, a broken, hungry, poor man. But the Father didn't see a broken, hungry, poor man. The Father saw his Son, his boy, his beautiful boy. And he ran out and he met him and he hugged him, he embraced him, he held him. And yes, he made eye contact with him. And yes, he stroked his face. And yes, he held him. And yes, he kept touching him. And perhaps one of the reasons that he did keep touching him and holding him was to make sure that it was all true, that he wasn't still dreaming. This was his Son. And his Son had come home. And the story away, that didn't matter anymore. He was home. And all the dreaming and all the imagining couldn't come close to describing the emotion of this moment. It was an explosion of love. And the explosion engulfed his Son with love. And all the pain and all the sadness of the Father disappeared in that first moment he caught sight of his Son coming home. And the welcome home must have been overwhelming for his Son. And a wonderful image that I believe is accurate for us coming to Mass is the image of the Father waiting on us. He's out looking for us before every Mass. He's waiting to see us coming in the far distance. He's willing us to come and share in his banquet, to share in his life. And every time we come to Mass, we end the Father's waiting for us. Every time we come to Mass, there is an explosion of love by God for each and every one of us. Coming to Mass, then, is not my initiative and my decision. It is my response to God's waiting, God's willing, God's desiring, and perhaps, yes, even God's need. God needs. And what do I mean by that? You see, God is an all-powerful God, and God has no need of us at all. He's completely self-sufficient. He could tell the sky to fall down tomorrow, and it would fall down tomorrow. He has the power to do whatever he wants, whatever he wills. And with all that power, God has chosen to be vulnerable before us. God has chosen to depend on us to respond to his love, to respond to his desire, to respond to his waiting on us to come and to share in his life in the Mass, so that we can go from the Mass and be his presence in the world and his love for the world. God has such respect for the gift of free will that he has given to each one of us. He has such respect for our free will that he will not go out and drag us home. He will never drag us to the altar. but he will wait, and he will wait, and he will humbly wait for us to come. So it is vitally important in our relationship with God that we think about God before we think about ourselves. We need to think about God's emotion, God's desire, God's feeling before we think about ourselves. So often when people explain to me why they don't go to Mass or why they're not going to Mass, the reasons are all their own. They tell me they don't have to go to Mass. They tell me they have their own relationship with God and God understands. They have their own spirituality. Some say they don't like Mass. They find it boring. They find it dull. It doesn't suit them. It's not relevant to their lives. It gets in the way of their lives. The time, some would say, doesn't suit them. Others, they don't like the priest. They don't like some people in the congregation. They have problems with the church. And the list goes on and on and on. But there is something common in all of these reasons. And they are all self-focused. It's all about me and my reaction. But what about God? What about God? Do we ever think about how all this impacts on God? Is it okay to leave him standing with a broken heart as we go off to do our own thing, knowing that he'll be there if we want him anyway? Do we take advantage of the vulnerability of God? And being aware of the emotion and the feeling and the desire of God has the potential to change our lives and to change them forever. And often we don't engage with this, and we can think that God is in some way beyond emotion. However, there is no scriptural evidence to prove that God is beyond emotion. In the Old Testament, for example, we're faced often with the anger of God. Jesus reveals the emotion of God. He revealed his anger when he cleansed the temple and cleaned the people out of it. He revealed more than anger in the gospel. When faced with the death of Lazarus, his friend, the one that the people recognized how much Jesus loved, we're told Jesus wept. Jesus was moved with pity. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he was filled with anguish. Our God is an emotional God, and our actions affect God's emotions. And when we become conscious and aware of God's emotions, our lives can be transformed. And I was given evidence of this from a person who was addicted to pornography. And he told me that one day he was in a church and he was praying and he was focusing on a leaflet that was lying in the church, a leaflet on the face of Jesus. And in a moment of intense prayer and awareness, it was revealed to him the sadness of God when people engage with pornography. He realized in that moment that the devil uses pornography to tempt and to torture God. He said that he felt God's pain and he was ashamed. He was ashamed that he had caused God such great offense with pornography. And in that moment, he was freed. He was freed from pornography. It was miraculous. And on reflection, he said, my caring for God freed me from pornography. When we put the care of God and the emotion of God and the desire of God before everything else, we receive miracles in our lives and we are free. And this is never truer than when we end his waiting by responding to his invitation to share in his life at Mass. So we respond to the invitation and the desire of God when we go to Mass. That's what happened. We're responding. And the initiative, as I've said already, always belongs to God. God takes the initiative in our lives. And God's desire is that we all come to Mass to share in his life, that we're all there. He desires that nobody is excluded. Our God is not a selective God, a God who excludes. It's never part of God. God loves each one of us with a unique love, and more than that, he loves us with a unique expression of that love. He relates to each one of us uniquely. It's not just a general relationship with a mass of people. It is a specific relationship with each and every one of us, a relationship of love, and nobody is ever excluded from the love of God. Therefore, God waits for everybody. For God, there is never enough present until everybody is present. Everybody. He will wait for you, and he will wait for me, even if we are the furthest away and the last to come. God waits. And this comes to the heart of a very important question. And that question is, who should come to Mass? And the answer is simple, because the answer is everybody. Everybody is welcome. But more than just welcome, I remember Henry Nouwen, the spiritual writer, saying one time, where you're always welcome, you're never missed. So we're more than just welcome at Mass. God desires that we are present at Mass, and he waits on everybody, and he misses those who are not there. And the Mass is not just for any specific group or type of people. It's not just for the virtuous and the sinless if they existed. The Mass is for everybody, and I can't emphasize that enough. And one of the reasons for this is that we don't own the Mass. It's not our Mass. It's not our Last Supper. It's the Last Supper of Jesus. Jesus, whose life we are called to share in. And we have no control over who comes to Mass. That's God's decision. And we have to realize that since God waits for everyone, that means that he doesn't just wait on the ones we think he should wait on. There's no space for the attitude that tells God, you can start now, don't be bothered about the rest, because I'm here and my group is here. There's no space or place for a self-focused attitude when it comes to Mass and coming to Mass. Jesus tells us when the scribes and Pharisees complained about who he was eating and drinking with, he said, it's not the healthy who need the doctor, but the sick. I didn't come to call the virtuous, but sinners. And Jesus makes it even clearer when he talks about who we should invite if we're having a lunch or a dinner or a party. He says, no, when you have a party, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind. That they cannot pay you back means that you are fortunate, because repayment will be made to you when the virtuous rise again. If we can say it, the most important people at Mass are those who suffer most. And then to make it clearer again, Jesus tells us the story about the person who organized the great banquet and sent out the invitations to the great and the good, and all those he invited, they all made excuses and they didn't come near it. However, rather than cancel the banquet or change the time to suit the people he wanted, He sent out to the streets and the alleyways, to the hedgerows and the open roads, and invited everybody to the banquet. And the banquet went on without those who were first invited. And this is very important too. The banquet goes on whether we're there or not, even though we are missed if we're not there. The banquet, the Eucharist, the Mass is not there to suit us. It's not there to fit into our lives. It's there to suit God, and it's for us to fit into His life. It is us responding to His humble invitation. It is us bringing an end to God's waiting. But the banquet goes on, and those who are present share physically in the life of God, and those who are not don't. And this is our choice, and we do have a choice. To put it starkly, our choice is to leave our Father waiting or to end His wait. His waiting is a waiting full of longing. It's like Fergal Keane in the quote. He's longing for us. He's imagining the moment He sees us. He's dreaming about the embrace when we come. Often, however, unlike Fergal Keane waiting for the birth of his son, God waits with a broken heart and a heart full of sadness, and His waiting is marked by the torture of the devil taking control of some of His children. We have a choice, because when we end God's waiting, we experience an explosion of love, an explosion of eternal love. So is it important that we go to Mass? It's more important than anything else, because when we go to Mass, we bring joy to God's heart. Thank you very much for staying with us for the second evening, and we'll resume again next Tuesday at 7 o'clock for our third evening in this series as we make our pilgrimage through Lent. So good night and God bless you.